Welcome to another episode of Moonshots. This one is absolutely going to be my favorite. I have as a guest one of my favorite people, a person I have been on guest on his show multiple times. A dear friend, one of the smartest person, one of the nicest person, and one of the kindest person, Mr. none other than Dave Asprey. Dave, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Naveen.
So, Dave, you have been one of the kindest human being who just gives and gives and gives. And a lot of the times, in life, you find yourself in a situation, people just take and take and take and never give back to you, right? And I have never seen someone who has always, been kind to everyone. Especially, I have been the recipient of your kindness many, many times.
Thank you, Naveen.
Right. The thing that I want to focus on today is not about your moonshot, about the kind of things you're doing that are fundamentally changing the way people look at life, look at food, look at the human body. And when everyone is going in one direction, you have this uncanny ability to look at a different way. And that's the kind of ability every successful entrepreneur needs to know. So tell me just a little about your moonshot. How do you go about coming up with these things that everyone is a naysayer until they get to it and say, they was right?
Well, all of my moonshots, and there's more than one. A lot of people don't know I have more than one company, and Bulletproof is the largest.
Let's talk about all of them.
Okay. But all of them have a uniting element, and it's actually something you mentioned already, and we didn't plan this, by the way. It's kindness. And I believe that when our biology is working the way it's meant to work, that we are wired to be kind to each other. Mm-hmm. And then when something goes off in your biology, that it will cause you to act with a bacterial operating system, which we call the ego, which is in order, computer science style. I'm a former computer hacker, right? It's number one, run away from, kill, or hide from scary things. That's what all life forms do, whether they're small or big. And this is why entrepreneurs procrastinate. And this is why you don't reach for your moonshot. And this is why you yell at people. This is why you hide from things, or you get road rage. All of these come from that fundamental drive to not die, and it's driven by the bacteria that run your system for you when you're not looking at them. And then the second thing that we do is we eat everything, because a famine will kill your whole species in a very short period of time. And this is why you see entrepreneurs who weigh 40 pounds more than they're supposed to, or like me, 100 pounds more than I'm supposed to. And it's not like we chose to do that. Our bodies did that when we weren't looking, because, hey, it keeps you alive. And the final thing that we do, and you see this also in entrepreneurs, is every species does it, is you reproduce. You have to reproduce. So those three behaviors drive a huge amount of what we do, and they get in the way of kindness. Because the fourth thing that all life forms do, and they do it in very different ways, and I'm talking everything from kombucha or yogurt, where they cooperate to make a creamy, delicious breakfast, right? Or they cooperate to make a herd of animals that do something, or a culture in a dish where bacteria will form biofilms, and they'll actually cooperate so that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Well, people are the same way. And we're wired to follow those 4 F words: fear, food, you can guess the third F word, and the other one is friend. Mm-hmm. And that is what all my moonshots are doing, is how do we enable more of the innate kindness that's built into people? Because I want to live in that world more than one where we have those behaviors around fear and greed, envy, hate, and just being constantly triggered, or constantly hungry the way I was when I was fat, or constantly feeling alone, like there's no love in our life. Those are hackable things. And you want to know my moonshots that match to those? Or
yes, I do want to know everything.
So a lot of this comes from my personal experience. Having had many of the diseases of aging as a young person, arthritis in my knees when I was 14. I had severe brain fog and cognitive dysfunction in my mid-20s when I made $6 million when I was 26, lost it when I was 28. I had high risk of stroke and heart attack before I was 30, and just a litany of these things that are supposed to happen to you when you're 80. And I did not like that. And I said, all right, I have to get to the bottom of this. I have to hack this, because it's a matter of being able to feed my family, and also just being able to feel good and to do the things that I feel like I'm here to do. And the first one was figuring out how to eat. Here's the thing. When you're fat, Naveen, this is going to surprise you. You've never really been obese that I'm aware of. You actually know it when you're fat. It's not a surprise to you. You have a mirror. You don't need a scale, right? And you know the size of pants that you wear. And no matter how many pleats you put in your pants, you still are fat. So I dealt with that, and I said, all right, I'm going to do something about this. Like I'm a good person. I'm going to go on a low-calorie, low-fat diet. I'm going to exercise an hour and a half a day, 6 days a week. And I did that for 18 months. Every day but Sunday, I was in the gym. I didn't care if I had an infection in my sinuses. I didn't care if I was going to miss a final exam. Like I hit the gym. And at the end of that time, I could max out every machine except for 2 at the gym, and I still weighed 300 pounds. I didn't lose a pound.
Okay, really? That's surprising to most people.
Oh, yeah. Well, I went to the doctor. I'm like, I feel like crap all the time. I'm tired. I can't lose this weight. And he goes, maybe you should try to lose weight. And I looked at him, and I might have said something along the lines of, no swear word Sherlock. And I said, well, what do you think I should do? He goes, maybe you should eat less. I'm like, look, I can sit at Carl's Jr., my friends who I could bench press all my friends while they're eating their double bacon cheeseburgers. I'm eating this salad with no dressing and no chicken. Right? What is going on here? And he looked at me and basically could see, oh, you're lying. You just eat Snickers bars and you just don't admit it. I'm like, what do I do with this? So that really motivated me. And when I finally lost my 100 pounds, and more importantly, I lost the cravings and the constant hunger and the obsession, like, what's that cookie on the table? I'm going to eat that cookie. What's for lunch? And all of the mental chatter around food, it's just gone from my life. And I effortlessly have the same size pants I had before I gained weight in high school. I used to be a 46-inch waist. I'm a 33-inch waist.
So Dave, this is just like mind-boggling, right? So why can't other people follow this?
Well, it turns out most people, and there's great evidence behind this, most people who eat a low-calorie, low-fat diet and exercise to lose weight, they gain it all back and then some, just like I did. I didn't lose 100 pounds. I probably lost 400 pounds because you lose 20, gain 30, lose 30, gain 40, lose 40, gain 50, and you just yo-yo, and you feel like crap, and you feel like a failure all the time, and you're tired because your body isn't making enough energy, and the energy it does make goes into storage instead of into thinking and acting and feeling and doing. And so my first big moonshot here was, I am going to create this radical different set of principles for making and eating food. And it became the Bulletproof Diet. It's been sold in 16 languages. I want to know about that.
So what are the 4 or 5 things you can just tell the audience, the magic behind it?
Well, instead of telling you what to eat, I'm just going to say, go to the Bulletproof website and look for Bulletproof Roadmap, and it tells you the entire contents of my first book for free on an infographic.
So that's bulletproof.com, right?
Yeah, bulletproof.com. And that's the nutritional things. And of course, I'm going to say, yes, Bulletproof Coffee, this thing called Brain Octane, these all work. But here's the algorithm that I think your listeners really want. This is how I'm disrupting big food, which is my first big moonshot.
I want to hear that.
And step 1, when we make food or we put food in our body, the most important thing is, how are you going to feel after you eat it? More important than anything else. Mm-hmm. Step 2 is, how does it taste? Because frankly, kale tastes like crap. And even if you believe it's good for you, you will not eat kale, at least you're not very likely to, for long periods of time, because it just doesn't taste good, because flavor actually matters. Because it's a quality of life thing. It's an experiential thing. And the third thing is, how convenient is it? Because you know what? Your time actually matters. And then that means you're probably not going to soak your grains in water from a spring that you gathered yourself using your left hand under a full moon to make sure they're good. And there's all sorts of stuff you can do to be slightly more perfect. We're not going to do that because we have important things to do in the world. And after convenience comes impact on the environment, because we all care. We care a lot. However, most people, as you well know, are willing to make a small decision that's not in the best interest of the future of the world in exchange to save time or taste better. Mm-hmm. Right? So, but it's acknowledging this is a part of our decision making. We want to do that, and we will always make those decisions when we can, and we know we are. And the final thing is cost. Here's the deal. You can go to Target right now. You'll find Bulletproof coffee ready to drink on the shelf. Clean label, grass-fed collagen, brain octane oil, and for basically 50 cents less, you'll find a junky keto butter coffee. And it's got canola oil. It's got milk protein isolate from non-organic animals. And it actually doesn't have the ability to do inside the body what Bulletproof coffee does, because it's built wrong. But they did make it 50 cents cheaper. And they might even make more money, more margins on that. But that will fail. And Bulletproof Coffee doesn't fail because people are smart enough to say, man, I feel really good. I want to feel like this more. I'm going to keep doing this even though I spend a little bit more. And I spend more because it provides more value.
And they probably are actually getting a tremendous value for it because they're getting the right ingredients. They're saving money, but not wasting on other cheap stuff.
And they're saving money. And also they got it back in energy and time.
Yep.
Right. And so that algorithm, it's toxic to big food. Because if you're from the big food industry, all you care about is you say, how good does it taste? And how cheap is it to produce? And how pretty is the sticker? That's all you have to do because they've trained us to go down that. So that's the status quo. How do you disrupt it?
But don't they put a lot of sugar in that to make it tasty?
Well, that makes it cheaper and tastier, right? But it doesn't matter. Like that's what you do. You've trained to do this from business school on forward. If you work for the big food machine industry that we have right now, it's scary. In fact, why would you use sugar? Corn syrup is cheaper. Right? you race to the bottom as fast as you can. And as long as you can look at people and wink and say, it's good for you. And this leads to these things that are not food that are labeled as
diet
food.
soda.
Like diet soda, a classical example. So my job is to disrupt that. And when Bulletproof is done, we're going to have all these big food executives and farmers looking around going, what are we going to do with all this corn? Like it doesn't work to feed it to animals because animals will eat that, become not good for people to eat. And the milk they make isn't good for people. And people don't want to eat this much corn. Oh my God, are we going to have to restore this cropland to become actual prairies with an intact ecosystem and soil that works and stop spraying glyphosate all over the place? And actually create a carbon sink to pull carbon out of the air by putting it back in the soil where it belongs. Oh my God, we don't have a choice because people won't buy our crap anymore. If we don't do that, we go out of business. That is the moonshot for Bulletproof.
Aren't you worried all these big executives whose paycheck you're stealing and all their money, they're going to come after you?
I am not worried at all. You know how many of the executives from big food are drinking Bulletproof coffee right now? You think that they don't want to feel better? You think that they don't want their kids to turn out better? You think that they don't want peace and kindness in their lives? It turns out, Naveen, I've had the honor of sitting down across the table from some of the CEOs of some of the biggest companies on the planet making food. And you know what they all want to do? They all want to make stuff that makes people healthier and stronger, but they don't know how to do it. And they're concerned. They're actually scared. But Dave, if we spend a nickel more to make that, people won't buy it because there will be something crappier and cheaper on the market. So it's the customers. They're demanding this.
You proved them wrong.
Well, I'm in the process of proving them wrong because here's the deal. When people understand what happens, when we have the knowledge and the tribal knowledge, and you look at your grandmother and she says, I tried this Bulletproof coffee and I like my brand. I'm gonna start dating again. You're like, what? This can't even be. Well, this happens all the time. And so this knowledge will spread. And what's happening is sales of junk, ultra-processed food are going down, no matter how much advertising, no matter how many celebrities you get to do it or whatever. And it's that signal, plus the fact that the people around the big companies, they want to do the right thing, but they will not do the right thing if people won't buy it. So it's to help people understand what's in it for them, not what's in it for the big companies. But I tell you, the people running the biggest food companies on the earth would love nothing more than to sell you nutritious, healthy, affordable, satisfying food. They don't know how to do it, and they don't know that you're willing to buy it if they do it. And I'm showing them with these massive growth of Bulletproof in a very short period of time. You know what? People are smart enough to spend more to feel good. If your stuff actually works, that's great. If your label says it makes you feel good, but it actually makes you hungry, we're smart enough to know that too, and we won't trust you ever again.
But it's very interesting is that, here's what you are doing is completely disrupting the way the food is being made. And I am working on making sure that everything get personalized food. That's going to disrupt this packaged good industry. Those poor guys don't have an easy life, do they?
They do have an easy life because they have so much money. They have control of this vast industrial machinery. And you can put it to great use or you can put it to poor use. And I don't believe, based on the people I've met, that there's any bad Mr. Smithers going, I'm going to make food that makes people fat and then I'm going to sell them diet pills. Ha ha ha. It's not like that. There's something called...
Wouldn't that be a nice movie to do?
It would be. There's something called an emergent behavior in a complex system. Mm-hmm. And it turns out that's what I studied in my undergrad. In my computer science background, I was actually a computer hacker in the first half of my life, a legal computer hacker, whatever you want to call it. And emergent behavior happens when you follow simple rules and you do it an almost infinite number of times, complex behaviors emerge. And the complex behavior we have here is we have companies making stuff that no life form wants to eat, or at least should eat. And they're doing that not because they chose to do it. They're doing that because we made small rules, which are make a lot of money and sell people the cheapest stuff that they'll possibly buy, and don't pay attention to how they feel because it doesn't matter. And if those are the rules you follow, you get what's coming to you. We're changing the rules. And that's what Bulletproof is doing.
I mean, you're not only changing the rule, you're changing the semantics of what it meant. The hacker used to be a term that nobody wanted to be. Now you created this whole industry around biohacking. I mean, any which way you look at it, you are the godfather of biohacking, right? Hacking is cool now.
Hacking, or at least biohacking, is a new word in the English language, Naveen. Merriam-Webster's added it to the dictionary at the end of 2018. No, and I'm in the dictionary as in the definition of it in Merriam-Webster's, which is completely the most unlikely thing. I set out to build a community around this, but biohacking is that idea that you can take control of your environment by changing the environment around you. And you can change the environment inside of you. And when you do that, your body and your brain will do what you want. And guess what most people want? We want to be kind to each other. We want to have the energy to come home from school. And even if our kids are nagging us, or we had a rough day, whatever, we come home and we're actually kind and we're nice. And we act in a way that we can feel happy about at the end of the day. Instead of when you're laying down to go to sleep, it's saying, I really wish I wouldn't have yelled at my boss, or I wouldn't have yelled at my kids, or I wouldn't have lost my temper, or flipped that guy off in traffic, or I just wish I would have reacted differently. What if you ate so well and you did the other things in your life that improved your ability to function in your world, and you did it so well that you had more than enough energy at the end of the day, and you acted with integrity throughout your day? It actually takes biology and willpower to do that. We can have more biological willpower, and all of my moonshots are connected in some way to that.
So I want you to focus on, just a little bit more detail on when you're doing these great audacious things. Every entrepreneur listening to you saying, I want to be like Dave, but I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to take on these massive industrial complexes, right? Okay. So how do you go about doing that? I mean,
here it is. It's really easy. Be more lazy.
Okay, so tell me more about that part. I like that.
Every minute of every day, there should be a little voice in your head saying, why do I have to do this? Because anytime you tell yourself you have to do anything, it's a lie. You don't actually have to do it. You're just doing it because you thought you had to do it, right? So I get irritated by wasting even a microsecond of time. Like, why does it have to be this way? So back in the day, when I was a computer guy, I used to actually have a cubicle next to this guy named Travis Kalanick. A few people have heard of him. Yeah. So here's a guy who's saying, you know what? I'm really not happy with the fact that I have to call a taxi. This is stupid. And it is. And taxis are stupid. And I'm sorry if you drive a taxi and listen to Bulletproof Radio. Like, you brought this on yourself, right? You made it a miserable experience. So he said, I'm going to solve this one little annoyance, right? And then he went and he started saying, I'm going to make it easier. What did he do in that algorithm I talked about? People value their energy. How many of us would like to get the energy back from trying to flag trying to flag down a taxi in rain, from spending a half hour trying to do that, from not getting where you want to go, being late, having a taxi that smells bad? Okay, that's an energy suck. How many of us value our time and convenience? He followed that algorithm. That is the key to disrupting everything, right? So there's an example there. And every single day you walk around, for me, okay, why is it that I'm hungry all the time? What are the things I found? And in my case, I went really deep on the biology. I was going to die maybe. Like, I felt like I was anyway. And I had this sore joints all the time, and my brain wasn't working, and I had emotional variance, and man, that's a miserable existence. So of course I'm going to go deep on that. And one of the first questions I asked myself was, why sometimes when I drink coffee do I feel like crap and other times I don't? So I got curious. And curiosity is the second thing you must have if you want to create your own moonshot.
Sure, of course.
And with curiosity, I said, I wonder if it's me, or I wonder if it's the coffee. It's the coffee. And I did my research and I understood the system of coffee. So what if I could tweak the inputs to the system of coffee so what came out would make me crash? It turns out mold is a common problem in coffee. We have no regulatory protections in the US. So I made a coffee that didn't make you crash. Guess what the market size for that coffee was?
Big.
0. No one had ever thought of creating a lower toxin coffee. In fact, the functional coffee category was 0. I created that category, and now it's a rapidly growing one. And Bulletproof is at the top of that. We're the number one selling functional coffee, our cold brew at Whole Foods and Costco and Target and places like that.
So how would you describe Bulletproof? I mean, you have so much going on. So if you were to describe in 1 or 2 lines, what is Bulletproof? When I want to be bulletproof, what do I have to do?
Well, Bulletproof is a state of high performance where you have control of your own biology. And that means you need to change enough things in the world around you so that your body does what you want. And the first thing that's most impactful is you change your food. But there are other things you can do that make you have that high resilience. And this goes back to this time in my life where, you know what? I'm at this company that was creating the internet as we know it today. It was the first web hosting company. The Facebook was a customer. Larry and Sergey with one server were customers. And I'm like, I can see the world changing. And I have my foot on the accelerator, pressing it all the way to the floor, and I'm slowing down personally. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm going to push harder, but I got nothing left, right? And the tank feels like it's empty. And that's a really scary place to be. You don't want to be there. And so many people are in that place right now, Naveen. And you don't have this because you wake up at 4:30 in the morning, you're full energy and you love what you do, and your biology pretty much works, right? We all have our little things we don't like, but you have that spark and it's been there for you. I had to build that spark back because it left, right? And it was that experience that led me to say Bulletproof is that state of resilience, that state of high performance. And it's all about control. Here's the thing. You may say, the control I would love to have a baby, and I'm not fertile right now. My wife was infertile when I met her, and we used biohacking to turn on her fertility. And today she does fertility consulting for people. Our first book was about that. It took 5 years of research and 5 years of writing to put the book together, but this is what we did, right? So you sit down and say, what really matters to me? I want that kind of control. You may say, I want to be the fastest person in the world. I want to win a Super Bowl. And on Bulletproof Radio, I've had a Super Bowl winner. Nick Foles was on. He drank Bulletproof coffee before he went out on the field. Wow, that's cool stuff. But what do you have in common between being a Super Bowl champion and saying, I want to be a mom, right? Well, it's control. Everybody wants more control of their life. And as an entrepreneur, how do you give people more control? That's the gift.
You're an amazing entrepreneur. As you said, you have so many companies running in parallel, and every one of them is super, super successful.
Well, I'm working on it.
Most people can get one of them right. So you obviously have this, whatever it takes to make these things successful. Is it because somehow you're obsessed, you're passionate? What is it that you have that other people just don't have? Is it because you have an energy that you get from the things you're eating?
I don't know if you're going to like this answer because it's a little bit metaphysical.
Go for it.
But I'll tell you. And you're a father, so you may understand this. When you have a baby, when the baby's inside the mother, it's actually a part of both parents' energy fields. And this goes back to Ayurveda and Chinese medicine and things like that. So you are putting your energy, and I'm talking about probably magnetic fields, some sort of information field theory. I don't know the name of it, but there's something going on there, right? And when the baby comes out, it's still a part of your field. That's why fathers are so tired the first couple of years. It doesn't matter, even if they get enough sleep, they're still tired because they have this new thing sucking at their energy in a good way. And of course, moms are even more tired because they're sucking at their energy and really they're nursing probably. So that's a lot more work. So you have this active creation that is a fundamental thing. Well, if you have more ability to turn air and food into energy, and you have cultivated the ability to not waste that energy on useless thoughts and behaviors, you will have enough energy to perform the act of creation and sustaining a young life until it can take on a life of its own. And that's what you really are doing as an entrepreneur. And your companies, when they are young, will be just like your kids if you're a parent. They will be a direct reflection of your energy state. So if you're in chaos and you don't have enough energy and you're feeling crappy and you're yelling at people all the time, you should expect your company to kind of be a bit of a garbage heap. You still might be successful, but it's going to be painful and you're not going to like it along the way. Right. So the more you can do to biohack, to get control of your biology, that's why I started with food. But I also, you'll notice I'm wearing these cool yellow True Dark glasses. This is one of my portfolio companies. I started this company. There are patents in this company with my name on them around the gradient of lighting, how it affects circadian timing inside the brain so that you don't get jet lag and you have more energy at the end of the day. Right. I love how I feel on these things. And so I do that. I said, no one makes these. I got to share this. So I came out with True Darks. I wear them. I talk about them. And so many people have written in to say, you know what? I actually flew to London and I didn't feel any jet lag. This is insane. I didn't know this was possible. And it's all about narrow control of frequencies of light. Okay, that's part of the environment I put my body in. And it's a small example there, but if I have 10% more energy, and I'm making up that number, I'm just guessing, maybe sometimes it's 20 or 30% more energy at the end of the day, and I don't have sugar cravings because I regulated the bacterial behavior in my brain by changing light, I took that energy and I use it to build a freaking company. Okay? That is really precious energy, right? And if I was sitting in my day and I was going, I wonder what that person thinks about me right now. You know, I think I didn't do a good enough job. Do I look pretty right now? Or whatever the angry voice in my head. I can tell you the voice in my head was a lot more negative than that for a long time. Naveen, I spent 4 months of my life at one of my other portfolio companies actually doing the kind of work it does now before I started it. It's called 40 Years of Zen.
Yes.
This is a personal development neurofeedback course, 5 days, 10 hours a day with neuroscientists and custom hardware and software on your brain. And 4 months of my life where I spent 5 days a week just pounding on what's going on in my head. You know what I did? I removed the useless behaviors and thoughts that I had. You know what useless thoughts take up? Energy. Yeah. What happens when you free up that energy? Everything that I do in my life gets easier when I've stopped doing things that were holding me back. And they're quite often just repetitive stories that we tell ourselves that are based on early things that we didn't like when we were 2 or 3 or 4, or the bully in high school. Like, you know how many of our mutual friends were bullied and became entrepreneurs as a response? I'm going to prove myself. I'll prove them wrong. I made $1 billion. And I'm still miserable because I never dealt with why I did that. And that was actually a lot of my motivation as a young entrepreneur. And as I did more of the personal development work, I'm talking going to Tibet and learning to meditate with the masters, spending time in Nepal, doing the neurofeedback stuff, fasting in caves, visiting shamans. Like,
isn't where you got the idea of this bulletproof coffee from the Tibetan yak?
It's true. I went to Tibet to learn meditation and to understand why I made horrible decisions financially and in my relationships. And like, I'm a smart guy. How can I do these things? And I was at 18,000 feet elevation on the side of Mount Kailash, which is the holiest. I know exactly where that is. You're Hindu, right? Holiest mountain in the world. And if you're Hindu or Buddhist, it's essentially Mount Olympus. So I went there, and it was 10 degrees below zero, and you're supposed to feel like crap at that kind of altitude. It's really unpleasant. And this little lady, half as tall as me, makes me a bowl of yak butter tea, and I drank it. I'm like, I feel really good, like way better than I had any right to feel. And I came back to Silicon Valley and I started experimenting, saying, I can't buy yak butter. What kind of butter works? It turns out only grass-fed butter. Can I use what kind of tea? It turns out it didn't really matter, but coffee works better than tea. And what would happen if I ate the butter and drank the tea? It doesn't work. They knew that they had to blend it or mix it by hand. And eventually, I came up with Bulletproof Coffee, but it was that noticing, hey, I don't like feeling like crap at altitude. In fact, I don't like feeling like crap anywhere. Something just changed my state. Can I replicate that thing? And it was that one little noticing at that time that led to the creation of Bulletproof Coffee. Right? And I didn't stop there. This is something entrepreneurs aren't supposed to do. If you're the typical ADHD entrepreneur, that's a gift that most entrepreneurs have. You are going to want to do 5 things at once. And if you go to a venture capitalist, which I did, Bulletproof's raised $68 million, what's going to happen is they're going to say, you're doing 5 things at once? That's crazy. No one's ever going to buy you. You're not a good entrepreneur. So what I did is I said, guys, you shouldn't invest in me because I'm doing 5 things at once, except that I'm really succeeding rapidly. So maybe personally, I just need a couple $1 million for inventory because sales are just taking off. And they came back and said, actually, here's $9 million. And you quote, are a real entrepreneur. And then they convinced me to not do the 10 things I was doing at once. But today, Bulletproof is number 1 or number 2 in 5 major food categories. And we created 4 of those categories.
Well, Dave, look, I am just so impressed with you as a person and a great entrepreneur that you are. And I think most people don't know about your kindness. I mean, when I started Viome, it's not that I had not done companies before. This was a completely new space to me. And the person I turned to was you. And you actually said, this really makes sense. And you actually had me as your guest while I was still forming my thought about what this company was going to be. And you actually got us launched. So every day when I'm working hard, I think about you.
Wow,
and
thanks,
your kindness of what you did to me. And I really think to some extent, you people talk about the karma. I mean, you probably helped hundreds and hundreds of people, thousands of people around the world launch their moonshot, right? And to me, every day, when I think about that, what this man has done for me, and probably doing it for so many people, that man is just, that's the kind of person I want to spend time with, right? So I think most people think of you as this amazingly successful, great entrepreneur that they think about meeting someday. And here I am, have had unbelievable honor of spending countless amount of hours in the kind of things we all end up being together at, whether it's being at X Prize, being at multiple events together where we all speaking. In fact, last weekend we had a dinner together at Tao, which was unbelievably great.
That was really cool. Tao's an amazing nightclub, and we got to have dinner with the founder. Right?
Yeah, we sure did.
Talk about how a business like that gets created. And it's funny. A lot of people probably have never heard how we met. So I went to the X Prize 10th anniversary. And the X Prize is a massive thing. Peter Diamandis has been on the show, a great friend of both of ours. And so I went there, and I'd never been to a networking event that was that expensive. And Bulletproof was still very small. And I'm thinking, man, this is the biggest check I've ever written, but it's supporting a charity to create
But
these
you were
things.
meeting Elon Musk, Richard Branson. I'm like, come on.
I thought it was a good thing to do. But so I walk in there, I didn't know what to expect. Yeah. And I think, oh, there's a bunch of people in here who are from the same planet I'm from, the planet of, why are things so dumb? Can't we just break that and make something better? And so there we are the first night. And there's two things that really stand out. One is we're making space stations or moon bases or something out of Legos. And there's a room full of billionaires in there. We're all playing. And you're like the guy playing the most. And I brought this weird Russian electrical stimulation device.
Oh, yes.
And so I'm putting these electrodes like on your biceps and all these other people's biceps. And you're there. They're going, what is going on? And so we're sort of hacking ourselves and doing this. And it was the most ridiculous, unlikely way to meet people that I've ever come across. But we just got to be friends then. Yeah. And when you told me, I'm doing this weird thing with this technology, I'm like, Naveen, are you kidding me? I've been searching for 20 years for a way to quantify what's in my gut. The first company in that space that's in the process of today failing right now, they got funded in my first conference. Like, you have to come and talk with my community about this because what you're doing actually matters. Mm-hmm. Right.
Oh,
and
thank you.
That was awesome. And so it's actually something that puts you in a flow state. Service to others. And what you find is, goes back to what you said at the beginning of the show, you find that there are people who are givers and there are people who are takers. And as you become more successful, you'll attract more and more takers, right? You'll also, though, and this is the key, you'll attract more and more givers.
Yes.
So instead of attracting the average person, you end up attracting the people who are outliers. And your challenge as you grow is to become better at understanding and saying, all right, is this person genuinely a giver, or are they a sociopath who's acting like a giver to get close to you? And there are people who do it on purpose and accidentally. And you got to get good at that. I'm still learning how to do that.
But
I still make mistakes.
We all actually end up meeting a lot of these con men who are basically parasites, and they play a long game.
Oh, they do. Yeah.
And I have been, you have
a lot more experience than I do with that.
Oh my God. Yes, we have all suffered through it. As we are coming to the end of this podcast, I want to ask you a really burning question I have. I've seen your photo of that amazing abs you have. Is that Photoshop or is that for real?
Naveen, I have never Photoshopped my abs. In fact, this is my favorite proof. Okay. 300-pound computer science guy. I was terrified to take my shirt off. And in December of last year, of 2018, Men's Health came to my house and they said, we want to do a photo shoot. And this was a photo shoot of all the gear that I have in Upgrade Labs, one of my I'm going to disrupt exercise portfolio that comes to spin out from Bulletproof. And
can you tell a little bit more about what the Upgrade Labs is?
Sure. We'll get to Upgrade Labs. So anyway, they're going to do an 8-page article about me in there. And the guy says, all right, take off your shirt. I'm like, hold on a second here, buddy. All right. I know, because I'm a biohacker, exactly what your cover models do. They take diuretics for 2 days. They starve themselves for a little while. They get super lean and ripped. And I know, because the Hollywood stars who have called me to talk about this stuff, they're drinking their bulletproof coffee and all this, guys like Brandon Routh, who played Superman, they have a prep routine to look good. I'm like, you didn't tell me I was taking my shirt off. I didn't do anything. He goes, will you just trust me? And so literally, I just took my shirt off. I didn't do sit-ups. I didn't shock myself with electrodes. I didn't fast. I didn't do anything you're supposed to do. I'm like, all right. And I just told my team, I said, hey guys, if the photos don't look good, could you please just make sure they don't publish them? And I never looked at the photos till the magazine came out.
Right. We're going to go see if their abs are for real or not.
So, again, this is not planned at all, but I don't know, they seem pretty abby.
That looks like to me pretty much like a cover photo, I would say. I still
got some stuff going here, but look, here's what you saw in the men's health photo. Do you see that right there?
Yeah.
That's a stretch mark from when I weighed 300 pounds. I have stretch marks, and they're in Men's Health. That was not a Photoshop thing, because if they're going to Photoshop it, they wouldn't have shown off my stretch marks.
Gentlemen, how many podcasts you have been on where you actually get the guests to take their shirt off and show their abs? This is an amazing moonshot.
I think it's a good tactic for garnering viewers, is just make that But here's the thing, Naveen. I'm married. I have 2 kids, right?
What do you say? I'm not that type, dude. I am married and I have 3 kids, so let's just...
But neither one of us needs abs to be successful in our dating life, because we don't have a dating life. We have a home life, right? So this was a side effect of feeling good. For me, that's what it's all about. It isn't about ego. It isn't about looking a certain way. But if your job is to look a certain way, like you're an actor or model, or to perform a certain way, you're in sports, or heck, you're a surgeon, you need stable hands, you must do biohacking. You must take control of that, and you make yourself what you want to be.
I want those apps. So now tell me a little bit about this upgrade lab. I am going to, and when are you going to open that up in our neighborhood?
Well, we're working on building out a franchise model for Upgrade Labs.
Maybe I'm going to be the first franchise model here.
Upgrade Labs is open in Santa Monica and at the Beverly Hilton in Beverly Hills. And what we do is we take a lot of different technology that's used by celebrities or special forces or astronauts, and it's about recovery. Because it turns out, Naveen, and you know this because you're an entrepreneur too, you can push really, really hard
for long,
and then you don't get enough sleep, and then you don't recover, and then you get worn down. There are technologies that make you recover faster than Mother Nature intended, and there are technologies that make you build muscle 3 times faster than Mother Nature wants you to, and you can do 2.5 hours of cardio in 21 minutes. Now, remember my algorithm for disruption?
Yeah. Lazy.
Did convenience matter? Yeah. I wanted to work out less. I admit it. In 40 years of Zen, hey, I didn't want to spend 40 years of daily meditation for an hour. Yeah. I wanted to spend 5 days for 10 hours a day. And even if I can get most of the benefits, I'll take that trade-off. I think most people value their time a lot and their energy even more. They just don't do it consciously. And I want that to be more conscious. So Upgrade Labs is a manifestation of that. Will disrupt big exercise. And one of my other companies we haven't even talked about is called Homebiotic. This is a bacterial probiotic from the soil, but not one you eat. It's one you spray around your home, and it stops the growth of toxic mold.
Isn't that amazing that bacteria can actually get out of the bad people?
Well, we the bad people, I love it. Well, we have a problem though with all this crazy weather happening, all this flooding throughout the country. Well, I grew up in a basement with toxic mold. It was one of the reasons that I was fat. One of the reasons I have stretch marks. So who would have thought that Mother Nature had a solution waiting right there? So you mist it around your house and it goes away. And I did a documentary called Moldy. It's at moldymovie.com. It's free. If you want to learn about this, you can. But there's 100 million homes in the U.S. who have toxic mold, or people who have homes with toxic mold in them. And it's a problem that is worthy of a moonshot, because toxic mold also is consuming a major percentage, at least 20% of the global food supply, as it's either growing in fields or stored. Well, Homebiotic is here to solve the world's toxic mold problem, the junk mold problem. It's a big thing. So all of these are all around that same thing, which is how do we do it better? And what we're doing now is we're spraying poison on everything so nothing will grow, but then it won't grow in our guts and it doesn't work. What if we just use Mother Nature? It's this kind of thinking. And I think if you're listening to the show, ask yourself, why do we do it that way? Doesn't that way suck? And if it sucks, make it suck less and you can become very successful. But my most important thing, Naveen, that I just really think belongs in this episode before we end it, is that, look, if you're doing it to get rich, you might get rich, but you will not be happy. If you're doing it to make a big difference, if you believe in it so much that you're willing to put your energy and your money behind your own company to do it, then you deserve whatever happens to you. And that will be most likely, if you succeed, it'll be wealth and you'll feel good and you'll be happy along the way. But if you're saying, I'm going to make money, there's an idea, I'm just going to copy that idea, I'll do it cheaper and worse, you might make some money, but you won't like your life.
But here's the deal. This is probably the only episode where I cannot stop, just continue this episode forever because I've learned so much from all the wisdom that you have. Tell people who are just want to pursue their moonshot, what should they be doing? They want to be all like you. So just tell them, this is the recipe for becoming Dave Asprey.
Don't become Dave Asprey. Become exactly who you decide to be. This is one of the laws from Game Changers. The people who change their game, Naveen, you're in my book about this. The people who change the game are the people who do not discover who they are. They're people who create who they are. They decide, I want to be this person with these abilities and these characteristics with this behavior pattern. Usually happy and kind are in that list. And then I'm going to do whatever it takes in my life. I will put everything on the line to be that person. And that is what manifests the company. That's what allows you to create big, amazing things. If you don't do that work, you will not do the same thing. And if you do have some degree of success, you will hate your life and you'll build a company with a toxic culture. And, well, business karma is real.
Well, gentlemen, you heard the most amazing podcast. Stop doing the soul searching. It's not about who you are. It is about who you want to be. Focus your energy not finding the thing, but actually creating a world that you want to create. Really looking at the world not as is, but what you want it to be. And that's how you create a moonshot. Please share this episode with everyone that you know of, because just like what you learned from this is what everyone needs to hear. And Dave, I cannot thank you enough
thanks
for being on the guest on the show.
Happy to be here
Thank
for
you.
you.